Doctor, you have presented views that some would call radical. Things like moving away from set exams by the Uganda National Examination Board to an assessment approach. How feasible is this and why?
Why? First of all, we know very, very well. It's just not a matter of knowing. It is empirically supported. There is rich research that points to the direction or to the fact that exams at primary level, exams at secondary level, in our situation from primary 1 to primary 7, and then senior 1 to senior 4 or even senior 6, we have rich research that points to the fact that they are not necessary. No. You can achieve better outcomes, but by pursuing a different path. And this is continuous assessment. All right? Which does not put the child on tension to generate some kind of depression. They become nervous. They even come to a point where to them you cannot risk, because an exam will never entertain any risk taker. Okay? You can't risk. So if you can't risk, if you can't be creative, if you can't be forward thinking, if you can't be a problem solver, just because you have to get the examination question correct as has been asked by the teacher, because the teacher will pretend or will assert that I gave you 100% in class, so return my 100%, I give you a distinction, I give you an A, I give you a first grade. If you give me 20%, then you are officially baptized a failure. Okay? But what scope are you using to categorize someone's child a failure? You are using, if you are in primary, 4 subjects. But life does not rotate around just 4 subjects. No. Actually, you realize that life may rotate around everything else than these 4 subjects. So we know that exams don't work. We know that exams don't add value. We know that continuous assessment, even if it has some elements of summative assessment, it is okay. We know that formative assessments are fine. Why? The kids are encouraged to take risks. The kids are encouraged to be creative. The children are encouraged to be innovative, to be forward thinking, to solve problems, to do different projects, to develop competencies. The world is about how competent you are, not how much you can remember, because technology has availed us with the opportunity to remember everything we don't remember. Okay, you simply Google, you simply chat GPT, and you'll get everything that you never knew about. So you don't need to remember these things, but you need to learn how to do. Okay? You have to have mastery. You master things. You be competent. You learn how to work with others, how to solve different problems. That's the person this country wants. And that person can't be produced by the exam, but continuous assessment can.
Why do you think assessment is a better approach to exams?
So now, you talked about yourself sitting on an exam and on a bench somewhere and write an exam, right? And that's where actually everything we have gotten it wrong. Just imagine, just think of a person who studied from Uganda, from primary 1 to university. Those are around how many years? Around 19, 20 years. They have been learning how to handwrite, okay? Some of them have even the perfect handwriting. But upon graduation, that skill is not needed anywhere, okay? All the exams you have written with amazing answer booklets, you have been handwriting. You are a pro in handwriting. But the employment you're looking for, 1 will need a person who can type with a particular number of, the speed is measured in how many words you can type in a minute, but you don't have that. So don't you see how we are going wrong with the education we have? So we have to front competence-based education, for example. And competence-based education is not about how much time you spend in school. For example, I am supposed to spend a term, okay? And when I finish a term and a year, then I have to roll over to another class, No. Instead, we should now depend on your competence units, for example. If you study something, you do different projects, you do different research, you create a portfolio of things that you have done, that you can proudly say that I constructed this, I have weaved this, I have actually researched this, I can do this, okay? Then you master. Competence-based education is about the skills you acquire and the mastery. If you master particular concepts, then you move forward. Sometimes you may even spend 2 terms in one class because you have mastered everything you needed to master. Not to cram, okay? Not to cram, not to memorize, but you have mastered. You have a skill. You can demonstrate mastery. Key point here is demonstrating mastery. Then you move on. You can even study for 1 term and move on as long as you can demonstrate mastery of the concepts expected of you during that time. And you can demonstrate that in projects, in different research pieces, in different public kind of speaking, different debates, like a cocktail of things. Not simply the exam. Sometimes even an exam, a summative kind of assessment. It's okay to sometimes ask these questions and get answers. Which models you have crafted, like all that, generating a person who is a doer, not a person who simply knows. Because the world is not about knowing alone, but what you can do with what you know. That's the education system we are looking for. That's why I am saying the exam is not helping us so much. But continuous assessment, competence-based education, the ability to master something and you demonstrate mastery, the skills you have, and then you move forward, that is key to Uganda's education.
Doctor, don't you think you are creating a problem of having students who have never been tested or graded?
So, I have news for such a person who thinks like that. And this is what I can tell them. That world over, if you look at the countries that we want to at least be like them, countries of which our own people want to leave Uganda and go to those countries, just because they are developed enough to give them means of living, a thriving income in those countries. Those countries have no national exams, okay? They don't run such kind of exams. And here is the reason why. Because everything that rotates around the exam or the exams does not resemble what happens in the real world. So you cannot be training someone to live in the real world and you're training them with opposite information. So here is what happens with the exam. Today, maybe think of a date, 21st. You have your exam and it is happening at 9 a.m. So there is an invigilator. Then they place this exam on your desk, upside down, and an answer sheet there. And if you are unlucky, there are even police or military invigilating people, these students, not to cheat, just understand the circumstances. Where in the world do you have national police invigilating an exam? Do you know the kind of anxiety, the tension you are really, really pushing to this child? Okay? Now let's put that aside. Now someone tells you that examination in front of you, it is starting at 9 a.m. Before you turn it upside down, you are not allowed to turn to your neighbor. You cannot ask any question. If you dare turn to your neighbor and look at your neighbor's work or ask any question, you'll be presumed a failure and you will be disqualified instantly. Okay? So, poor child picks up the exam, stays in isolation for the next 2 to 3 hours, and then writes nothing, and then they are told to hand in because time is over. Now let's look at the real world. The real world strictly expects us to work as a team, expects us to consult whenever we have been given an assignment. If I don't get it clearly or understand it well, I have to ask my supervisor. I don't know how many times, twice, 3, until I understand it. I have to run to my colleagues. But you have ever been asked to do this? How did you do it? And then they give me answers. And then I come up with the assignment and I hand it over to my supervisor. And my supervisor will tell me, look, no, this you didn't get it right. Ask so and so, and then I'll get the right answers until we get the product well done. That is the real world. The examination environment and the world does not look like the real world. So we are training people to come and fit in a world that doesn't exist. That can only take us back. That can only render our young people unproductive, and we cannot compete with anyone in this world because the entire world is doing things differently, and for us we are busy doing things differently from even the little we are doing as a country. So we have to be progressive. We have to do what is right. We have to value our children. We have to value our human capital. These people are the most precious assets that this country has. So we can't put them to waste.
The task of continuous assessment presents a problem of where students in the country are not at the same level. How would you create a standard for students to be assessed in a fair manner?
Very, very good.
That is fair.
Very, very good question. And remember, when we started this conversation, we alluded to the fact, or I alluded to the fact that one thing that is fundamental in this world is education. It makes or breaks the country. Now, anything that makes or breaks the country also requires to be prioritized because it is important. But now here is what we are going to do. First of all, right now, we have a system that assumes that a child from Chisoro to the other child in Kisumu, they are all the same, experiencing the same socio-economic situations. Their jurisdictions have the same characteristics. The truth is, they are not. Politically, socially, economically, name it. Those kids are experiencing different lives. But for us, we want to standardize them, uniformize them, if that is a word, like make them the same, but the country has different problems. The problems in Chisoro, the needs in Chisoro, the uniqueness of Chisoro, they are all different. The uniqueness of Moroto, the problems in Moroto, the needs in Moroto are totally different from those of Chisoro. So you cannot be training people who understand one thing to help you solve different problems. So this is what we are going to do. We are going to create something I have called school districts. Okay? And these are not new. Developed countries that have sane education systems have done these. So in other words, We are lucky that we have the Education Policy Review Commission. It can benchmark and pick promising practices from these countries and see how these things are working. These are just frameworks, okay? Systems that can help us look at them and see how you can implement them. Now, we are going to create school districts. And when I say a school district, I don't mean that every district, 135 or 140, have to become the school district I'm referring to. No, a school district, in my submission, simply means look at different districts, for example, different regions that have similar characteristics, have same socio-economic needs, or same socio-economic problems or characteristics, or regions that are aspiring to be in the same direction. Regions or places or districts that really have the same culture, kind of. Now, create that to be a school district. Now, once you have created that to be a school district, it simply means that their education, their curriculum, has to be tailored to the needs, to the wants, to the aspirations, to the culture, to the everything of that particular place. Because now you are creating problem solvers of that very people that understand the environment they are in. Now you just have to have National Curriculum Development Center working with these people to create a curriculum that is relevant to the community. A curriculum that is relevant to the school district, a curriculum that mirrors the aspirations, the socio-economic needs of the people. Okay? Then after that, you are going to create what we call a district evaluation board. Now, this district evaluation board is now the one responsible of creating of quality assuring different assessments that are happening within the schools of that very school district. All right? So, the system is fair to the people. These are people you're not going to ask a child in Karamoja to tell you about slums in Katwe, a child in Karamoja to tell you about the floods in Wai. That's none of their business. They care about the drought, they care about their cows, they care about cattle rustling, they care about those things, they care about lack of food. So, but make them problem solvers within their society, within their community, within their region, and then see how over the years you're not going to have true problem solvers, community developers, those you have educated to understand their problem, to solve their problems, and move the country forward. So if you have those kids in that particular district, school district, and other kids from elsewhere, if all that is going on around the country, when you bring them together, you're going to have a country on wheels, running on high speed to be developed. So then, something that used to be called UNEB, transform it into something I call READ. And READ stands for Research, Evaluation, Assessment, and Development Agency. Now this smaller agency, it is no longer doing the assessment as we know it. Remember, assessment is continuous assessment handled by the district evaluation boards. They are doing assessment that is relevant to the child within that jurisdiction or school district. Now, we expect to have experts in the former UNEB now read research, evaluation, assessment, and development. These are researching, evaluating, assessing, and developing promising practices, frameworks that are world-class, backed by research, that now the district evaluation boards can use to carry out effective assessment within their very school districts.
Doctor, how long do you anticipate this radical change to be in effect?
I understand that change is very difficult. And there are people who are so comfortable, okay, and find it very hard to exit their comfort zone, okay? And there are some people who have perhaps invested so much. If someone has been supplying UNEB with papers, if someone has been, whoever has been benefiting from the current system is going to find it very hard to detach themselves, right? But, fellow countrymen and women, there are certain interests we don't have to take personal. We are talking about a country. We are talking about the future of this country. So our small interests should be so minor, we should sweep them aside, we should look forward, we should build our country because we owe it to our children and even those to come. This country is not ours. We inherited it from others, but think of what other people are going to inherit. Are they going to inherit a broken system or they can inherit a richer system? It begins with us. We can create it. And to those who think that what they know is what really works, I like what His Excellency the President, President Museveni was saying. I think he was addressing the leaders, the NAM leaders. He talked about the aspects or the evil of the uni-ideological kind of thinking. Like being in a world where you think that it is only one thing that works, okay? In this world we have so many things that can work. We cannot get stuck to one thing, one way of thinking, that we know that education can only thrive by writing an exam. If you think that is the only way, you ask Australia, ask Canada, ask US, ask Singapore, ask Norway, ask Netherlands, ask every superpower you can think of. Now, are we working so hard to become poor and poorer and go backwards, or we want to catch up and even be better than these countries? If we want to be better than these countries and empower our own people, then we have to start thinking like them or think better than them.
Doctor, part of what you propose has what you call school transition certificates for students completing P7 and S4. Give more light on this.
Now, remember I talked about continuous assessment. We have moved away from national exams. There is no more PLE. Please, Honorable Minister of Education, I know it is very, very hard, but the best things are done by courageous people, people who are willing to disrupt a system that is not working. Please abolish PLE, abolish UCE, and even USCE, 50% of it should be out of competence-based learning or education, 50% of it. Maybe the remaining part of it, 50%, can be an exam that is not even national, but that has been taken to the school district at a district level. Now, if that is true, that we have done away with PLE, we have done away with UCE, there should be something that can enable this child from P7 to transition to senior 1. So we are going out of their portfolio they have accumulated from P1 to P7. We are going to give them a school transition certificate that shows the competencies they have acquired, the skills they have built over time from primary 1 to primary 7. Then they can transition to senior 1. That is the school transition certificate. A paper, a credential that proves that so and so has the following capabilities or competencies and skills and mastery, has demonstrated this mastery to move to primary one. Doctor. Okay? And then
what do you see the final product of Uganda students in the next 10 years if your system has been approved?
Right now, today, I stand to be corrected. We export home workers, people who are, you call them maids, to go to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, where, Dubai.
And some doctors.
And some, do you realize that those people today, they earn us more money, about I think 900 million a year, if I'm not mistaken, than coffee. Now, those are not going to do skilled jobs, right? But suppose, think of a situation, how, in a situation where our people are skilled, have demonstrated competencies, demonstrated skills, the world will be yearning for them. Most of them would have embraced the latest emerging technologies as we know them. Artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, machine learning, you name it. If you're competent with those skills, you can actually do a job in New York, in California without going there, in Toronto without going there. Do you know how much money that you will bring to our country? We will have a human capital that is rich to benefit themselves, their families, their communities, the entire country. We will have a productive human resource in Uganda, better than today, where you have thousands of graduates. They graduate with their amazing first classes or second class upper or lower class degrees or honorary whatever degrees, but can't work anywhere, have no job, can't create a job. They are typically there to depend on people who educated them.
Thank you, Doctor, for talking to us.